So, Avengers Endgame brought in a whopping $1.2 billion globally on its opening weekend, and I think that's pretty incredible. It may actually be on its way to being the top grossing film of all time, even bigger than like Titanic or Avatar or any movie. I mean, these Marvel movies are really changing the game. I think pretty soon, actually, they'll have more billion-dollar box office milestones within Marvel Studios alone than any other movie studios combined, like all of them. I also think that pretty soon the $1 billion mark is going to be the new standard for a quote unquote blockbuster. I'm not sure what the current standard is. I think it's like at least 100 million, to be considered a blockbuster. Or I think it might be like correlative to the budget of the movie and how much it made back. I'm not sure, but I really do think that the new standard is going to be 1 billion. I mean, Hollywood has really been trying to go big in recent years, like mostly by reviving classic stories and franchises from the 80s and 90s. I mean, we've seen Ghostbusters get a failed reboot. The Transformers came back in a very big way. We've even seen a Power Rangers movie. They made a comeback on the big screen just recently. I thought that movie was pretty great, actually. And then, of course, probably the biggest of all those I named is Star Wars. Star Wars is booming nowadays. Can't wait for the next phase. And also, with the next phase of the MCU, about a year and a half away, it's going to be pretty interesting to see how many billion-dollar gems Hollywood is able to produce without the presence of Marvel films in the theaters. I really like how Marvel created this whole series of movies. It's almost like a TV series. Like how some of your favorite TV series, like That 70s Show or Buffy the Vampire Slayer, has like 20 episodes or 22 episodes. That's pretty much what the Infinity Saga has been for us. I mean, it would take a really, really long time, but you could binge watch all of those movies and see the whole series from beginning to the climactic finish with Endgame. So I think the best bet for Hollywood really is to go for the long game and try to create these longer sagas that people can really get themselves invested in over time. And while we're on the subject of Marvel, I'm actually getting into comic books. Last Saturday was Free Comic Book Day, and I didn't really get a chance to go to any comic book stores or anything, but I was suddenly very interested in some comic books. I guess that's the power of holidays. All of a sudden, everyone and everything is about love on February 14th, or all of a sudden, people care for each other or treat each other kindly because it's Jesus's alleged birthday. But it seems Free Comic Book Day has the same effect on people. My first comic when I was little, my first comic that I owned was Blade. My dad bought it for me. I don't remember what issue or anything of Blade, but I mean, it was pretty sick. I remember reading that thing like at least 10,000 times. Me and my dad went to comic book stores all the time because he was really into comic books when he was growing up. I mean, I kind of got into them a little bit, but I was mostly just fascinated with the artwork. And I would like to, draw all the stuff that I saw in comics with some like white, sketch paper or whatever. Same with like drawing Dragon Ball Z characters and stuff like that. Drawing Pokemon too was pretty popular among the kids when I was growing up. Among the boys anyway. So, sorry to anyone who missed it, but when I was growing up, Saturday morning cartoons were a thing. Okay, I mean, we had everything. We had X-Men, which was my favorite. Actually, me and my dad used to watch it together every Saturday morning. That was our thing. We definitely watched X-Men every Saturday morning. We had Spider-Man. We had Digimon. That was dope. Digimon was super dope. The Tick was cool. Life with Louie was funny. I think that was with. I think that's the same person who was doing the Tick too. Anyway, Power Rangers. Of course, Power Rangers was lit. All kinds of stuff. And this was just on free broadcast television on Fox. You didn't even have to have cable. I mean, shout out to everyone, that grew up with cable, but for us poor kids, Saturday morning cartoons were everything. But anyway, I had to do a little bit of research into the history of Marvel Comics to start reading. I mean, some of those stories have been going on for decades, and I mean, there's so many different stories that I didn't really know where to start. I wanted to start somewhere around the beginning of the Infinity Saga, but that's actually not in the comic books. But after doing some research, I think I'm going to start at Marvel's Volume 1 by Alex Ross and Kurt Busiek. I hope I'm saying his name right. I had a chance to read a few pages of it. They like gave me a little preview and like I'm already captivated. Absolutely. Great story already. It's a really expansive universe. You have all of these different characters and all of these different superheroes. But personally, I'm really only interested in X-Men and the Avengers. I mean, like I said, I grew up watching X-Men. They're near and dear to my heart. Hopefully, they start doing more individual character stories with X-Men. With the previous sagas we've gotten from Sony Studios, it's mostly just Wolverine, I think, that had his own standalone thing that I remember off the top of my head anyway. I really hope they start doing more of those individual movies within the X-Men universe. I want to see a Gambit and Rogue movie. Okay, they had a love story. I want to see, Dark Phoenix done properly. I want to see Storm have her own movie. Of course, they should make more Wolverine movies. I wonder who they would get to play Wolverine. I mean, of course, Wolverine is such an iconic character in the X-Men universe as far as the movies. And I mean, he's going to be a really, really tough act to follow. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see. But as I'm getting into X-Men and the Avengers comics, who knows what I'm going to discover. I might end up wanting to read other stories. So that's great. It could really open up to a whole lot of different things. And I'll probably try and track down those old issues of Blade, just for nostalgia's sake. Also, I think it's pretty neat that Marvel has its own comic book streaming service. It's like $9.99 a month plus tax, and you can read the entire super extensive catalog there. Personally, though, I don't really like to read things digitally. I always prefer a hard copy. A lot of books nowadays you can find a free PDF if you just do like a quick Google search. I mean, I've done that a few times in the past, but I really hate reading off of a tiny phone or a tablet or something. I mean, I really need something physical that I can keep forever. I like those little physical things that you can actually have, and it's not just digital. When you request it, it's there, but it's not really there. So I'll be ordering a copy of Marvel's Volume 1 from Barnes & Noble on Friday. I'll probably do an episode review on the book once I'm done with it too, so stay tuned for that, guys. So guys, I just saw the trailer for the Spider-Man Far From Home movie, and I'm really, really excited for this movie to come out. I mean, to be honest, before the MCU, I was never that big of a fan of Spider-Man. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to watch the Spider-Man cartoons, and I was really fascinated by the epic battle for the Tablet of Time between Spider-Man and the main villain Kingpin, and a bunch of other bad guys that were involved too. But overall, Spider-Man was never really my main thing, mostly because my affection was reserved for X-Men. I think I have Tobey Maguire to thank for breaking me into the Spider-Man culture with those first 3 trilogy installments in the franchise. Ever since then, it's really been growing on me, and I was extra geeked when I realized that Spider-Man was going to be making a crossover into the Avengers. So yeah, I think it's kind of neat how they opened up the trailer with a spoiler alert from Tom Holland looking dashing as usual. I mean, if you haven't seen Endgame by now though, you're not really a fan anyway, so I'm not sure if it really matters if you get the spoilers at this point. But I do think it's really interesting how they're applying pressure for people to hurry up and see Endgame so they can boost the numbers. I mean, like I said before, this movie is on its way to being the top grossing film of all time. So they're trying to apply that extra pressure for you to see it right away so it can really like push it over the top. You can't even watch the new Spider-Man trailer if you haven't seen Endgame yet. So I think that's kind of a cool little trick that they're using to try and get people to hurry up and see this damn movie. Because it's only going to have so long to be in theaters, and then it's going to be out of the running to be the top grossing box office of all time. So we'll see how that goes. That should be interesting. But yeah, it's a really great trailer overall. It definitely got me excited. They were already trying to get me to shed a tear in the opening sequence with Peter Parker still lamenting over the loss of Tony Stark. I mean, that was pretty sad. Endgame was a real big tearjerker. It seems like they're really trying to connect with people emotionally and not just, a bunch of explosions and badass scenes and stuff. I mean, hell, I'm still crying over Tony Stark. But yeah, ever since then, he's been out here just doing some regular superhero stuff, just doing his friendly neighborhood Spider-Man thing. There's always going to be bad guys out there for these heroes to face, but it seems like there hasn't really been any really big bad supervillains since Thanos. And he seems to just be going after robbers and murderers and just, the normal kind of stuff, you know? Actually, there's a funny little scene there where the cops are just now showing up to a crime scene that Spider-Man has already taken care of, and the officers ask, so are you going to be the new Iron Man? To which he replies, well, how would I have time when I'm too busy doing your jobs? Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny, and of course, perfect delivery from Tom Holland. So then Spidey announces to these guys, I'm actually going on vacation. He's like, peace out, I'm out of here, this has been too much for me, I need a vacay. But immediately I start thinking, okay, you think you're gonna take a vacation, but I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a big old bad guy waiting for you no matter where you go. So that's a little bit of foreshadowing there, I think. So far he's been doing a pretty successful job at dodging Nick Fury's phone calls like a bill collector. I know how that is. But Fury does eventually end up catching up with Spidey and introduces him to dun da da da, none other than Mysterio, played by a super studly Jake Gyllenhaal, and I would like to take this time actually to welcome our friend Jake Gyllenhaal to the MCU. We're very glad to have you. So yeah, this introduces us to the idea of there being a multiverse. You see, Mysterion is actually from Earth, but it's a different Earth from another universe or like an alternate dimension or something. This is about to make the MCU very, very interesting, so it's going to be very cool to see how they integrate that moving forward with Phase 4 of the MCU. It looks like the elementals are the big baddies of this movie, and it looks like they're just made up of various natural elements like water, fire, earth, etc. Pretty much Captain Planet split his soul into 5 Horcruxes, and then they became overpowered and oversized monsters, and now we have the elementals. It's a little generic for my taste, especially for a Marvel villain or villains, but I definitely think Mysterio is going to have a few tricks up his sleeve, and I think he's going to end up being the bad guy of this story. I mean, that's just my prediction anyway. Apparently Thanos' snap created a tear in the barrier between the universes, and that's where all these elemental monsters are coming from. And Peter Parker doesn't want to have anything to do with this trash. He's like, you know what, I'm on vacation, I'm just trying to spend some time with Mary Jane. I just want to tell the girl I love that I love her. That's all I want right now, is to just relax. Y'all can just miss me with all the bullcrap. And as it turns out, Mary Jane actually is not a complete idiot. She already knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, which is a little shocking for them to reveal in the trailer. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. And I mean, if she already knows that he's Spider-Man, then the cynical side of me kind of thinks that she's only with him for the clout, but that's whatever. Yeah, the trailer pretty much ends with a bunch of cool action sequences. We get to see Spider-Man in his black ninja-like outfit. That was pretty badass. And at the very end, Nick Fury pretty much lays it out for him, like, hey, are you going to be the new Iron Man or what? I mean, there's been a whole lot of speculation and rumors over, who's going to replace Iron Man, who's going to be the new Iron Man. Is it going to be his daughter? Is it going to be Spider-Man? So forth and so on. So yeah, I guess we'll have to wait for July 2nd when this movie comes out and find out. I'm sure there's going to be pre-sales and all that stuff, so you guys go ahead and lock that down early. Luckily, I was able to see Endgame the first day it came out. It was a Thursday, actually, so technically it was the day before it came out I got to see it. I think they do that so people can see it in advance and then tell all their friends just how great it is, and then they can rush to the theaters, and word of mouth is a really big deal. So yeah, July 2nd, Spider-Man Far From Home. And I mean, the trailer looks great. If you haven't seen it, go ahead over to YouTube and check that out. And on July 2nd, don't meet me there, beat me there.